Hey everyone, today we're unpacking some truly fascinating source material that dives deep into the hidden patterns of conditional love. We're going to map out the exact mechanics behind a dynamic that leaves so many of us feeling completely drained and confused. You know the feeling. Specifically, why certain relationships can feel incredibly warm and loving one minute and then freezing cold the absolute next. So let's explore what the material reveals about the difference between actually being loved and simply being utilized.
So let me ask you something. Have you ever experienced this crazy, jarring whiplash? One moment, you're the absolute first person they call. They're showering you with warmth and praise, and you feel great. But the very second you push back, or you try to set a perfectly reasonable limit, boom, all of that warmth just evaporates. It's incredibly disorienting, right? It leaves you spinning, wondering what on earth just happened.
Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, the disappearing act, or when the mask finally slips.
The reality mapped out in the material is that the moment you stop being easy to control is actually the exact moment the facade falls away. And listen, for those of you who find yourselves staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., replaying conversations and wondering why you feel so empty, the research is crystal clear on this. You aren't crazy and you aren't the problem. Interestingly enough, psychological studies actually show that our brains process this sudden withdrawal of affection very similarly to literal physical pain. You absolutely haven't done anything wrong by simply having limits.
Moving right along to Section 2, the useful trap, kindness as a utility.
Now, to understand the root cause of this behavior, we really have to look at this concept called the useful trap. This is a dynamic where your value to another person is just entirely conditional. You're only valuable to them as long as you're actively solving their problems, lending them money, or worst of all, swallowing your own pain just to continuously show up for theirs. To these individuals, your kindness isn't seen as a generous gift at all, it's viewed as a constantly expected resource.
And there's a massive, honestly devastating difference in relationships that the material highlights perfectly here. On one side, you've got someone who genuinely misses you. Like, they miss your heart, your quirky personality, your actual presence in the room. But on the other side, you have someone who is simply missing what you do for them. They look at you and they just see a reliable resource that they've quietly learned will always say yes.
I absolutely love this quote because it captures the essence of the useful trap so well. For some people, your kindness isn't a gift they appreciate, it's a utility they've grown to expect. Think of it kind of like the plumbing or electricity in your house. You don't constantly thank the faucet for giving you water, right? You just turn the handle and expect it to be there. And that is exactly how a toxic individual treats your emotional energy. Just like they'd be furious if the power suddenly went out in their house, they get incredibly angry when your endless giving finally stops.
All right, Section 3, the reaction window, mapping the edges of control.
So what exactly happens internally when you finally decide to turn off that faucet? Well, manipulators actually pick their targets pretty strategically. Step 1. They scan the room for people who will flinch or people who tend to over-apologize just to keep the peace. Step 2. They use what's called a reaction window to test the waters and precisely map the edges of what you'll accept. But Step 3 is where the entire game changes. The very moment you stand your ground and actually say no, you slam that reaction window totally shut and it completely shatters their carefully mapped control.
Which brings us to Section 4, the ice treatment, punishing the no. Once that window shuts, the retaliation begins. The ice treatment manifests in several really specific ways. We're talking days of the silent treatment, tight, one-word answers, or just this sudden, jarring coldness that is wildly out of proportion to whatever just happened. Ultimately, the whole goal is about making you the villain. These are highly calculated emotional weapons, and they're designed to make you feel so incredibly uncomfortable that you just cave, backtrack, and apologize for something you didn't even do wrong. And this brilliantly illustrates the harsh reality of the situation. When you say no, they don't look at you and see a tired human being with completely valid limits. Nope. They see a tool that has suddenly stopped working. In their mindset, your personal comfort, your utter exhaustion, or your own needs matter far, far less than what you can provide for them. Essentially, they are just punching the tool for breaking down.
Let's pivot to some solutions in Section 5, reclaiming your respect, stopping the service, and starting as an equal.
So the crucial point is, how do we actually handle this massive shift without just crumbling into a pile of guilt? Well, the very first psychological tool you need to reclaim your respect is this realization. Their anger is not my emergency. Let that sink in.
When they get icy cold to try and fix their own mood by using your guilt, you have to learn to just sit in that discomfort and let them manage their own feelings. It is literally not your job to fix their reaction to your healthy boundary.
If you need an actual, practical script, like exact words to use in the heat of the moment, try this. I hear you, but this is how I feel. It's incredibly direct. It acknowledges that they spoke without folding to their demands whatsoever. Once you deliver a clear, firm statement like this, you can just walk away in total self-respect. You do not, I repeat, you do not need to wait around for their permission to exit the conversation.
To help you recalibrate what you actually deserve, let's look at the hallmarks of real care. Genuine relationships are steady and they are consistent. Healthy people never use warmth as some dangling reward, and they certainly never use coldness as a harsh punishment. But most importantly, someone who truly cares about you is going to respect your no, even if they are a bit disappointed by it. The people who only value your usefulness, on the other hand, will constantly try to paint you as the villain just for choosing yourself.
I really want to drive home this conclusion with one of my absolute favorite takeaways from the source material. You are not a hospital, you are not a bottomless well, and you are definitely not an emergency contact for someone who won't check on your heart when you are the one struggling. Your worth was there long before you ever gave anyone a single thing. And guess what? Your worth stays exactly the same even when you stop being useful to them.
So it is time to stop giving from an empty cup and start filling your own first. Every single drop of energy you pour into someone who only takes is energy literally stolen from your own dreams. So where are you pouring your energy today? Really think about that. If this explainer hit home for you, take a quick second to subscribe and join our community of focused learners. And I'd love it if you drop a comment below that simply says, I choose respect, because I really want to hear your stories. Remember, you are never the problem. Thanks for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.